Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that has convinced us that every thought must be tweeted, every emotion voiced, and every opinion shared. But the truth is, not everything needs to be said. Silence, when mastered, is one of the most powerful disciplines you will ever walk in. Most people talk themselves out of favor, out of opportunity, and even out of peace because they don't know when to be quiet. Just because it's true doesn't mean it needs to be spoken, and just because you feel it doesn't mean you need to voice it. Some words, if released too soon or too freely, can destroy what God is still developing in you. You've got to understand timing is everything. There's a season to speak and a season to stay silent, and if you don't recognize the difference, you'll ruin something that was meant to be sacred. You'll expose what should have been protected. You'll give explanations to people who were never assigned to understand you in the first place. Not everyone needs access to your thoughts. Not every conversation deserves your input. There's power in learning to pause. When emotions run high and pressure builds, it's easy to speak from impulse rather than insight. But silence in those moments is a sign of strength, not weakness. Some of you are wondering why certain doors haven't opened. And it's not because you're not gifted. It's because you keep talking too much. You broadcast what God whispered. You announced what was still under construction. You let impatience override discretion. And when you do that, you give your enemy a strategy to delay your progress. Don't sabotage your future by narrating it to the wrong audience. You must develop the discipline of discernment to know when to share, what to share, and with whom to share it. Everybody smiling at you isn't for you. Some are only waiting to hear what they can use against you. So sometimes the wisest thing you can do is simply zip your mouth, hold your peace, let your fruit speak louder than your voice. You don't need to announce your growth. Let your results do that. You don't need to argue your worth. Let your presence prove it. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. And when you learn how to keep what's sacred hidden, when you protect your destiny with discretion, when you stop needing to always explain or defend yourself, that's when you mature into your next level. Because people who are truly wise don't rush to speak. They wait, they weigh, and then they whisper if needed. If it doesn't serve your purpose or protect your peace, it's not worth saying. So remember this. Just because you have a mouth doesn't mean every moment needs your voice. Everybody thinks silence means defeat, that if you don't respond, if you don't clap back, if you don't defend yourself or explain your position, you've somehow lost the battle. But the truth is, silence is not weakness. It's strategy, it's discipline, it's control. Real strength isn't proven by how loud you are, but by how still you can remain when everything in you wants to shout. Silence is a weapon, but only for the wise. The foolish talk to be heard, but the wise stay quiet to stay focused. You see, when you learn to hold your peace, you stop giving the enemy material to work with. The moment you open your mouth in anger, in insecurity, or in frustration, you give them ammunition. But when you stay silent, they don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, or where you're headed. Silence becomes your cover. It becomes your protection. While they're trying to figure you out, you're moving forward in clarity and purpose. There are some battles you're not supposed to fight out loud. Some victories are won by keeping your mouth shut and your spirit calm, because not every comment deserves a comeback. Not every insult deserves your energy. If they misunderstood you, let them. If they lied on you, let them talk. Your assignment is too important to be distracted by noise. You're too close to what God promised to be pulled into petty debates. Silence is not giving up. It's choosing peace over chaos. Have you ever noticed how people will try to provoke a reaction just to pull you out of character? That's because they can't defeat your purpose, so they try to discredit your posture. And once you react, you hand them control. But when you respond with silence, you keep the power. They can't manipulate what they can't move. They can't disrupt what they can't read. That's why silence is not surrender, it's wisdom. Even in relationships, silence can be strength. Sometimes the loudest love is quiet. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in conflict is not argue, but pause. Not because you have nothing to say, but because what you would say isn't worth the cost. Wisdom knows when to speak, but it also knows when to stay still and let time reveal the truth. People may call it passive, but silence isn't passive, it's intentional. It's knowing your voice is valuable and choosing not to waste it. It's knowing your peace is expensive and deciding not to trade it for temporary satisfaction. That's not weakness, that's control, that's power. So the next time they try to bait you, the next time someone pushes your buttons, remember this: silence doesn't mean you've lost your voice. It means you've mastered your spirit. Some people talk so much they don't realize they're giving away the very thing that keeps them ahead. They expose their dreams before they're ready, they leak their strategy before it's built, and they hand out their next move to people who have no business knowing it. That's how blessings get blocked, not always by the enemy, but by your own mouth. There's a time to speak, yes, but there's also a time to zip your mouth and move in silence. You don't have to announce everything you're working on. Not everyone deserves access to your process. In fact, sometimes the reason things don't work out is because you shared it with the wrong person too early. They didn't believe in you, they didn't support you, or worse, they started working against you. Not because your idea wasn't good, but because you handed them the blueprint, and while you were talking, they were plotting. While you were celebrating prematurely, they were sabotaging quietly. That's why discretion is a gift. Silence protects vision. It gives you space to grow without pressure, to develop in peace, to shift without explanation. You don't have to post every step. You don't have to update everybody. Some things need time to breathe. Some dreams need darkness before they're ready for light. Seeds don't grow in the spotlight. They grow underground, quiet, hidden, unseen. But just because nobody sees it doesn't mean nothing's happening. Your silence doesn't mean you're stuck, it means you're being strategic. Let me tell you something. Even God works in silence sometimes. You pray, and you wait, you obey, and you don't hear a sound, but it doesn't mean He's not moving. It means He's building in ways you can't see yet. And if God doesn't feel the need to announce everything, why should you? You don't have to prove your progress. You don't have to justify your timing. You don't owe anyone access to what God whispered in your spirit. This is the season to be quiet and focused. Let your work speak. Let your results speak. Let your discipline and consistency do the talking. Because when people can't figure out what you're doing, they can't interfere with it. Silence isn't hiding, it's guarding, and not everybody who asks what's next is rooting for you. Some people want the inside scoop just to use it against you. Don't give them the satisfaction. Move in silence and let the fruit speak for itself. You don't have to convince anybody of your calling. You don't have to explain your every move. Just zip your mouth, stay in position, and watch how everything falls into place without you saying a word. There's a reason your silence has power, because not every opinion deserves a response. In fact, one of the quickest ways to lose focus, peace, and progress is by always feeling the need to defend yourself. People will say things. They'll misinterpret your motives, twist your actions, and question your intentions. And if you're not disciplined, you'll spend your energy trying to explain yourself to people who never even wanted to understand you in the first place. That's a trap. The moment you let their words dictate your response, you give them control over your peace. When you understand who you are and what you've been called to do, you don't waste time arguing with small minds or wounded hearts. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's not retreating, it's rising above. You don't have to fight every battle. Some accusations aren't worth your breath. Some conversations don't deserve your presence. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're aware. You know your value and you refuse to trade peace for drama. The enemy wants you distracted. He wants you tangled in emotional debates, so you miss the real assignment. But when you learn to zip your mouth, you stop giving unnecessary oxygen to dead conversations. You stop keeping unhealthy cycles alive by feeding them your words, and instead of defending yourself, you let time, fruit, and truth do it for you. Jesus himself remained silent in front of false accusations, not because he couldn't speak, but because he didn't need to. His life spoke. His purpose was bigger than proving his point, and sometimes that's the most powerful response. No response. Let them talk, let them assume, let them misjudge. Eventually, the truth always walks into the room, fully clothed and undeniable. But until then, let your silence be your strength. Every time you feel the urge to speak up and set the record straight, pause and ask yourself, does this serve my purpose or soothe my ego? Because often, our need to respond isn't about righteousness, it's about validation. And when you mature past that, when you stop needing approval from people who don't add to your destiny, your silence becomes a weapon. You don't need to explain the season you're in. You don't owe updates to people who never helped you build. Keep moving, keep producing, keep growing, and let the fruit speak so loud that it silences every false narrative. You are not here to argue, you are here to fulfill, and if silence protects your assignment, then protect it with everything you've got. Sometimes the loudest message you can send is staying silent and staying consistent. There's a difference between speaking to build and speaking to impress. The problem today is that too many people are addicted to sounding deep rather than living deep. We've become so consumed with sharing our every thought, our every move, our every idea, that we forget real power doesn't need a microphone. It just needs results. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is speak too soon. When you talk too much, you expose plans that aren't ready, dreams that haven't matured, and strategies that still need time to develop. Every vision doesn't need a voice right away. Some things need silence to grow. A seed never grows under the spotlight. It grows underground, in darkness, in quiet. That's how destiny works. It matures in secret. But too many people are busy trying to convince others of what they're going to do instead of going and doing it. We end up exhausting energy trying to impress people who aren't even a part of our calling. And while they're clapping for the idea, they're not investing in the process. You've got to learn how to hold your tongue, not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting. What you're carrying is sacred, and sacred things must be guarded. Speaking prematurely invites premature battles. There are critics watching, waiting to shoot down anything new, and when you talk before building, you give them ammo they didn't earn. Silence is not fear, it's strategy. You don't reveal the blueprints to everyone. Some people smile at your ideas but sabotage your steps. That's why silence must be part of your discipline. People of substance don't speak to be seen. They speak when there's weight behind their words. You can always tell when someone has spent time in silence. They speak with clarity, not noise. They speak with wisdom, not impulse. And when they speak, rooms shift, not because they shouted, but because they lived what they said. Don't fall into the trap of needing constant affirmation. Your work, your consistency, your excellence will speak for itself. You don't need to sell your vision to gain attention. Let your silence do the work and let your fruit make the announcement. Talk less, do more. The people who really matter don't want words. They want results. And so, if you find yourself in a season of building, don't feel pressured to explain. If your plans are still forming, keep them close. Nurture them, work them, refine them, because the right time will come for your voice to be heard. And when it does, you'll speak with authority, not desperation. Until then, let your silence speak louder than your need to be heard. Let your discipline be the volume of your destiny. Sometimes silence is not just about restraint, it's about wisdom. There's a kind of silence that's not passive, but deeply active. It listens, it observes, it discerns. Too many people are so eager to respond, so quick to react, that they miss what's really being said. But when you learn to zip your mouth, you start to pick up on things others completely overlook. You start to hear between the lines. You start to recognize patterns, motives, inconsistencies, not because you're judging, but because you're paying attention. Silence gives you power that talking never will. It's in the stillness that clarity shows up. While others are talking themselves in circles, you're gaining insight. You begin to realize that not every question deserves an answer, not every insult deserves a response, and not every battle is worth your breath. You develop the strength to sit in uncomfortable moments without trying to defend, explain, or impress. Why? Because peace becomes more valuable than approval. The person who learns to remain quiet in chaos becomes the calm in the storm. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature. You control your environment not by volume but by presence. People don't remember noise. They remember power, and real power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it enters a room and speaks nothing, yet changes everything. You also have to understand that silence protects you from unnecessary warfare. Sometimes the enemy doesn't even know what to attack until you open your mouth. When you speak out of emotion, you can give away too much. You show your hand, you reveal your fears, you let people into areas they haven't earned the right to see, and once they know where your weaknesses are, they start aiming. But when you're silent, you leave no trail. You become unpredictable, and that's powerful. People can't manipulate what they don't know. They can't twist what you didn't say, and they can't discredit what you never gave them access to. This kind of discipline doesn't come easy. It takes maturity. It takes being secure in who you are, because only insecure people feel the need to always explain themselves. But when you know your truth, you don't chase approval. You walk in purpose. So if you want to protect your peace, protect your progress, and protect your power, zip your mouth. Don't let temporary emotions cause permanent damage. Don't let people drag you into debates that lead nowhere. Don't let the noise outside disrupt the stillness within. Sometimes the greatest wisdom you'll ever display is in what you choose not to say. Let silence become your shield and strategy.